Hi everyone, this is Dr. Alex Avila with Love University, and we're back. I'm an author, psychologist, and speaker. Every week we talk about how to love ourselves, others, and a higher nature, how to improve our finances, career, health, relationships, and spirituality. And we have a very special guest today. I think it'll be very enlightening. This is Mandeep. She is a yoga and spiritual teacher since the year 2000. She had chronic back problems and turned to yoga as a solution and then became a spiritual teacher, a yoga teacher as well. In 2020, she founded the Kundalini Collective in downtown Las Vegas as a well-being space, and also it's a store, to teach yoga and meditation. She is also a sound healer and offers teacher training through credential workshops. Welcome, Mandeep, to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Avila. Thank you.
Yes, Avila. And you actually look like you're in the store, in the place right now. you're in the
I'm on my teaching stage, yes.
Yes. And now the idea of yoga is very fascinating. We think of yoga as a way to the physical exercise, find inner peace, union with a higher consciousness as well. And the idea of Kundalini, I believe it comes from the idea of a coiled snake, some kind of energy within our deepest chakra. And tell us a little bit about that. What is Kundalini yoga?
Kundalini actually means the curl of the beloved. So it does refer to a coiled energy, and you need to do something to release it and be very conscious about working with it. So this is a technology that is very specific to awaken the Kundalini from behind the fourth vertebrae of the spine and raise it up primarily through the practice. It's a multi-faceted practice of utilizing Kriya, mantra, pranayam, and sound, all flowing into a very vast meditative experience.
Wow, sounds very fascinating. I was reading something about it combines Bhakti, devotion, Shakti, kind of a feminine divinity or power, and also Raja, meditation. Is that part of it as well?
It contains all 26 schools, all 26 lineages of yoga, the spiritual discipline, applied yogic science of yoga in one teaching and one practice.
Okay, very cool. By the way, I don't know if you can tell, but my favorite color is blue. And I think you were talking about blue. And I went to this place and they said my aura is blue. But
nice.
My chakra is in the throat because I'm a communicator. And sometimes I get a sore throat. What's good for a throat to work on your throat?
Chanting.
Chanting, really? Okay.
Absolutely.
What would be a chant to use?
You could just simply chant the seed sound Ong, O-N-G.
Oh, Ong. Okay.
Ong, yes.
Okay, and then you just keep saying that, or is there music with it?
Ong, ong, ong. It starts to really vibrate the whole head from the throat up, and the sound is not coming out of the mouth; it's coming out of the nose.
Okay, very fascinating. The yoga is a very fascinating and very interesting exercise. Now you mentioned things like compassion. You can help you with compassion.
Not an exercise; it's a discipline. It's a lifestyle practice.
Okay, it can go deeper. So prana, you can talk about the life energy, the love force. Also being less reactive in terms of when you practice yoga, and also raising your consciousness. Tell us more about that. What are the benefits of yoga?
Oh my goodness, where do I start? There's a multitude of benefits. First of all, it improves your immune system.
Yes.
It strengthens your nervous system. And when you have mastery, in a sense, over your thoughts, over your emotions, it's very, very useful and very helpful, particularly in this environment that is rapidly changing on the planet as we speak. We're being bombarded more and more with information. It becomes very overwhelming very quickly. The environment of the planet itself is in pretty dire straits. So the more that we can maintain a sense of neutrality, of open-heartedness, and create the direct connection between the heart, the mind, and the breath, it's very, very useful in all aspects of being human. And we have an expression in yoga that we are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yes, I like that. That's very beautiful. And the idea of yoga is a form of therapy as well.
It can be, yes, very
they did studies, yoga behind bars. They found that people who did 4 yoga sessions had only 8% likelihood to return to prison, as opposed to 60%, most people, recidivism rate. Also, other studies indicated with lowering cortisol, the stress hormone, relaxation response, impulse control, mood, concentration. And one thing that's very interesting for me, I work a lot with trauma victims. And the idea of the trauma-focused yoga, you may have heard of Van der Kolk, who did The Body Keeps the Score. He talks about the idea that after trauma, it gets ingrained in your body. Yoga is a way to become aware of that, release the tension, and also to tolerate discomfort, because realizing that it's not going to last, And I think sometimes some of these positions, can they be uncomfortable at times?
Well, in Kundalini, we do a lot of repetitive movement. We work with the science of angles and triangles. So it's not like your traditional Hatha yoga where you are holding the poses in some practices for various long lengths of time.
Right.
We do hold the postures as far as when we're working with prana in a certain angle and bringing energy in, like, for example, I would possibly be raising my arms in this posture for 3 minutes or even longer. And that can be very, very challenging. But we're opening up the conduits of energy to release trauma imprints, for example, since you just spoke about that. And we're bringing in new aspects of energy lines into the body. So it does teach you how to be uncomfortable, knowing that it's a finite state, and then when you relax, you suddenly have this experience of a whole nother sense of who you are from a different perspective, because you've moved through that uncomfortableness.
Right. Sounds like you're familiar with the psychological side of this.
I teach very thoroughly in that way. I'm certainly not a trained psychologist by any means, but I'm very geeky about those types of things, because primarily people are coming in to this studio in Las Vegas. They really struggle with depression. They struggle with anxiety. They struggle with addiction issues, all as a part of dealing with depression and anxiety, attempting at self-medicating. So I think it's important that I do have a basic knowledge of how the brain, the mind, the psyche, all of that works within this component of the applied yogic science of Kundalini.
Now you mentioned, what is angles and triangles? That was an interesting term I was going to ask you about.
Yeah, so we do a lot of energy positions and physical positions with the body using 60-degree angle, using 90 degrees, using 30 degrees. We're very, very specific about putting perhaps our legs in certain angular positions and doing the arms, particularly because the arms have a direct connection into the heart. So we do a lot of different positions angularly with the energy. And if you look at a square and then you divide it with an angle of 60 degrees, it becomes two entirely different things. It becomes two triangles. So that's what we're doing.
Interesting. I remember my mom, who passed away, back in the day, she was doing yoga. And one time I walked in a room and she was upside down in a lotus posture. I said, what the heck?
Beautiful.
And she was already an advanced age, but and I did a little bit of that lotus. I think I can still cross my legs, actually, for some reason, and do that, the full lotus position.
Good for you.
So I think it's very, very, very fascinating. And I think the idea also of community is important. And the idea that people that breathe together, move together, there's some sense of union. Do you find that in your center there that you have?
Absolutely. We have an understanding and the concept of group consciousness. So it is important that you have a daily practice and you do that on your own in some fashion. It could be very brief, 30 minutes, 11 minutes or less. To do something consistently is very important. But I also am always recommending that you come in and you experience group classes, because the energy builds in what's known as group consciousness, which is the unity within community. And it's very supportive. Humans are not meant to be isolated and not be together. We're very much meant to be together, like in tribes and villages and communities, however you want to perceive that, because there is an interconnectedness that we all share. And again, another aspect of it is I see no stranger. In you, I see me. And so it becomes a mirror reflection of each other.
That's very beautiful. I like that. That's a very spiritual, elevated point of view. And also, you are a sound healer. I know you have gongs in the back. Are you able to play those gongs by any chance? Can you?
Yes.
And what happens if well,
you want me to play them right now?
I mean, just if you hit it, I'm curious as to the sound.
No, we don't hit it. We play the gong. We strike the gong.
All right, let's hear a little bit of that. I'm kind of curious.
Okay.
Because you already have everything set up there.
Yes, I have 17 gongs, Dr. Avila.
Okay.
All different types. This is Mercury. This is Uranus, and
Yes.
I have a water gong, which I don't think you had. Well, this one you can hear. Just to give you a quick teaching about the gongs are incredibly very powerful sacred instruments.
Yeah, I was
In
going to ask
30
you.
seconds, all the chakra energy is balanced and harmonized.
Right.
30
That
seconds.
seems pretty intense. I mean, does that represent something? Is that some power?
Yes, I'm explaining it to you.
Okay.
So in 30 seconds,
Yes.
all the chakra energy is balanced.
Ah.
The chakras, of course, are the wheels of energy
Yes.
within the spine. 30 seconds. In
Wow.
90 seconds, your subconscious mind, which is the whole reason that we meditate, is to keep that managed and cleared, surrenders to the sound of the gong.
Ah,
So
okay.
I probably played that for about 45 seconds, maybe 30 seconds.
Yes.
So we had an immediate response
Yes.
with the energy in the body.
Interesting. Yeah, I felt something powerful from there. And
Good.
Yeah, and I assume different gongs, or I know people use bowls too. Do they have like different influences on people? There you go. You got a bowl. Okay.
I
And,
have a vast array of sound healing instruments. So
Okay.
this is a gem bowl, and
Yes.
it's made from kyanite.
Oh, wow.
And essentially, you tap it and you rub it. It's all working with frequency, with hertz. The brain emits frequencies and hertz, different waves of sound. So these all have very beautiful impacts and influences. I like to think of these as the true influencers of our society,
I like that.
and how we can navigate and utilize this amazing technology to bring healing and balance and harmony. It's quite lovely.
Wow. So then people that come with different issues, can you fine tune the sounds to help them? Their depression?
Yeah,
Or,
so when I do my private sessions, I have a room that I have dedicated here. I had it built very specifically to be able to do private sound sessions in. And I have a consultation initially with the client, and we come to an understanding of what our intention is that they would like to work on in the session. And then I typically can intuitively tune into them before they get there. So I've got an idea of what's happening, and I'll pick out the couple of frequencies of gong depending on what it is I'm picking up on. Sometimes I tweak it a little bit once they get here, but usually it's pretty spot on. And then I have a collection of 7 sacred metal chakra bowls, which I have in a specific alignment around the table that I work with. And I use those in a Himalayan protocol. I was taught by a master sound healer from a village in Nepal.
Wow.
And so I utilize them in that way, so to create relaxation and harmony.
very, very fascinating.
That was super cool. People love it. They fall asleep. They have out-of-body experiences.
Yes.
It's really incredible.
I see. Now, Mandeep, there is what we call the devil's advocate for meditation, for example, or yoga. And you've heard this before. And I think you mentioned the term monkey mind, which is from the East that says, the chattering thought voices and all that. So, I mean, a lot of people would say, I don't have patience for this. I mean, I sit, and my mind is, they even say the word ADHD. I can't do this. So what's your response to people that say that to you, that is not for you, it's not for them?
That's one of the reasons why I really love Kundalini, because I had practiced multiple schools or lineages, traditions, methods, vehicles, however you want to view it, of meditation prior to Kundalini discovering me and saying,
Yes.
okay, Mandeep, you're ready. Kundalini meditations are usually very active. And I love that because I have an incredibly powerful monkey mind too. My mind is,
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I'm a woman. I have a natural 6-track mind.
Oh, wow.
So my mind is,
Multitasking, right? And multi-thinking.
I'm a queen of multitasking.
Okay.
And so, the shadow side of it, I get put too much on my plate.
True.
But when I am in my meditation practice of Kundalini, I'm focusing on a specific breath work. I also do things with my hands, mudras, which directly connect to the energy of the brain. Because, when we're in utero, our hands and our brain, we're like this, all tucked into this little growing, organism.
Yes.
And the hands and the brain develop together. So in creating different expressions of energy in the hands, it's highlighting and activating the brain in a certain way. So mudras, breath, typically I have a sound. I'm chanting a mantra, or I'm listening to a mantra and mentally vibrating it. So I'm busy. And it totally satisfies my monkey mind. And I'm having an extraordinary experience.
Wow.
So there you have it.
So just sitting there and just seeing your thoughts, absorbing them, that's not necessarily what you're talking about.
Well, I did several Vipassanas where I go on silent retreat for 7 to 10 days.
Wow.
It was super challenging. I did it. It was amazing. But it's not exactly something that I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go do Vipassana again. It was like pulling, splinters out of my hands and feet. But I made myself do it to have the experience.
Yes.
This to me is much more of a modern system, a much more applicable and I wouldn't say easier, because it's not easier. It's all challenging, right? It's all challenging. And this is how we grow, is through challenge. But we don't have to suffer. That's the key. We don't have to suffer, and you don't have to hustle and hassle about it either. You just set yourself, do your practice. If it's 11 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever, and you continue to move through all the chaos of the change that's continuously unfolding in a much smoother, streamlined way.
Interesting. There are a lot of different permutations of that. They're fascinating.
Sure.
Now, psychology, we have something called flow, which you may have heard about. Mihaly is a famous psychologist that talks about, the runner's high, when you basically lose track of time, lose track of self-consciousness. So I assume, this can also do that as well, the meditation, the yoga.
Absolutely.
To that, union. So you're no longer worried about your problems, and you're just in this kind of joyous state. And of course, with neuroimaging, we know that people who practice yoga have more self-awareness. And also there's more of what's called GABA, which reduces anxiety, the neurotransmitter. Yep. So there's a lot of interesting brain chemical stuff going on.
Absolutely.
But here's one thing I've been wondering about. I had this guy on my show who talked about magic mushrooms, psilocybin, you've heard of that? As some kind of shortcut to consciousness. But I've always been skeptical of people that like to use external chemicals to change internal chemicals, which is, the endorphins and the dopamine. So what do you think about that? I mean, do you see any use of the external chemicals, or do you like this way to do it in a more internal way?
We have everything that we need within us. We're an absolutely amazingly sophisticated, highly intelligent organism that is pretty awesome. Yes, in many, many traditions, the shamanic traditions are definitely coming full force. People are really seeking out these things. It's somewhat of a trend.
Right.
Sure, I see it all the time.
Right. It's kind of a shortcut, don't you think? People want to get that high, they got to get that immediate thing.
Yeah, well, then you got to do the work afterwards now, don't you?
Work, what do you mean, by integration? Through the...
Yeah, sure, the integration.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's a high. You're right. It's an external coming in.
Right.
Creates an altered state.
Right.
Fine. The altered state wears off.
Right.
Now what? So I think there's definitely room for that, particularly with when you have, plant medicine, this is the basis of our allopathic medicine, or is plant medicine.
Right. Right.
Before Big Pharma got a hold of it. That's a whole nother story. But regardless, I do speak of plant medicine in a way that I'm embracing it, because a great deal of the clients, my students that are coming in, not my students, but the students, are very much experimenting with that. And so rather than create a gap, I'm bridging that gap. I'm saying, come in and practice Kundalini before you're going to go into a ceremony.
Right. But is your personal philosophy, is your philosophy the idea that to get something good, you got to work at it? I mean, because it seems like this constant, as discipline and work.
Absolutely.
These yoga postures, which can release, the positive brain chemicals eventually. Do you like that longer term view in terms of doing that
Yes.
with some shortcuts?
I'm a lifelong student.
Okay, okay. Exactly. But I mean, you have to put work into it. This is not, yoga is not that easy, no? I mean, you got to put some energy into it, right?
It's a spiritual discipline, and
Yes.
it's a genuine training. So it's a Jedi training. So in order for you to get something out of it, it has to be an exchange. You have to put something into it. So there needs to be an exchange. You don't have to be fanatical about it, as I keep mentioning, this very short time period. But consistency and commitment, and this is what builds your calibration to increase, which in turn elevates your consciousness. You've got to do something.
Yes.
And if you don't, you're going to be left behind. You're going to feel overwhelmed pretty quickly, and you won't be able to keep up. We see that rampantly. I mean, it's really, it's pretty intense what's happening. But there's also a lot of very positive things that are happening. And that's what I focus on.
I like that. Now, in terms of the actual terminology and some of the things you do, I'm going to talk to you about some terms. And you tell me what you define them as. I see here something called Kriya, and it looks like it's defined as action, breath, posture, and sound. Tell us, what is Kriya?
Well, Kriya Yoga was kept very closely, secretly guarded for hundreds of years. And then in the late 1800s, it began to be publicly introduced again. It is a series of very specific tools or very specific elements. You mentioned breath, you mentioned prana, you mentioned asana, mudra, did I say mantra? All of these elements are combined in a very certain sequence and a very specific timing to create a specific outcome. That is what Kriya Yoga essentially loosely is.
I see.
And so Kundalini technology that Yogi Bhajan taught is a Kriya tantric practice. So we're working a lot with the Kriya, with the sexual energy of the sacral chakra, and we're also very much working with prana, life energy force.
So the term Kriya said means action.
Yes.
And most people think of meditation, like you said, like sitting quietly, and they can't do that because of the monkey mind. So it sounds like there's more of an action-oriented meditation that people can do as well.
Correct.
If they have that overactive mind like you're talking about.
Yes.
Which actually is pretty interesting. A lot of people don't realize that, apparently. Because a lot of people are turned off by sitting still, quietly. I can't do that.
Well, I do have a class that I teach on Tuesdays. It's called Gong Nap, and I actually utilize the practice of Yoga Nidra. So that is where you're lying down, but you're awake and aware, and you're going through a self-hypnosis process. And you were speaking of trauma earlier. Yes. Walter Reed Hospital Richard Miller did a huge study with the veterans really struggling with PTSD,
right?
And utilizing the Yoga Nidra specifically with tremendous outcome, very positive of healing.
So Mandeep, this stuff, believe it or not, has already helped my throat. My throat is clear now. I think the sounds you played and just all this stuff is helping.
Beautiful.
So I'm kind of wondering, I guess, the practical applications. This is what our listeners probably want to know. Like someone says, I'm overweight. I want to lose weight. Depressed. Can you help them with these kind of things? Say weight loss, for example, with yoga?
Yes.
How do you do that?
Well, there's several Kriyas for weight loss. There's different breathing techniques for restraining compulsive eating. And it's also a matter of just relaxing and accepting yourself just as you are. That's a big part of it. But there's several Kriyas for weight loss specifically. There's cleanses that you can do. And then there's a very specific breath practices that include meditation focus.
I see. I think someone said something like...
breathing is a big part of that.
Someone said, I smoke. Do I have to give up smoking to do yoga? And someone says, no, yoga is going to make you give it up.
Correct.
In terms of the way it works. Now, can you... Oh, well, okay. That'd be nice. Now, can you show me like what's called the mudra, a hand thing to do? Is there any exercise?
This is the Gyan Mudra. It's connecting your Jupiter energy to your thumb, which is the Mars energy. So it's the mudra of wisdom of the teacher.
Okay. So just hold this for how long? Like this
is pretty much a classic mudra. So you would put it on your knees so that your palms are up, And you can have the palms up or down either way, but typically the palms are up, the elbows are straight. And when you connect your thumb to your fingertip, not the nail, the tip of the finger,
Yes.
it produces a very specific energy flow in the mind and in your body.
Okay. Now, how long do you hold this position for, this mudra?
It varies. I mean, it can vary. You can actually practice with the mudra at any given time. If you're in a meeting, you could do that beyond mudra. You could also do the little finger, which is your Mercury finger, finger of communication. The little finger, your little finger, and you could just discreetly hold that. Like, for example, this is my right hand, and I would just kind of discreetly hold it in my lap, and that would enhance my communication skills.
That's fascinating. Now, this is something very enlightening, Mandeep, is that you showed us that yoga or meditation is not just sitting still. It can be doing movements, it can be action-oriented, and that's wonderful. And we'd love to have you back on again. I know you might have to run pretty soon, but we'd love to have you on and maybe talk in more detail of maybe more practical exercises. Would you be open to that? Yeah.
I'd be happy to do that. Yeah,
Okay.
this is a householder yoga. Householder meaning we have jobs, we have families,
Yes, that's
we
right.
have busy lives, and we're not in a monastery, we're not in a nunnery, we're not aesthetics. We're not in a forest, in a cave.
Yes.
We're out in social settings,
Yes.
having a normal, whatever that is,
Yes.
human life.
Right.
And this is a support system for that.
I like that. That's pretty fascinating. So, Mandeep, where can people learn more about your place and also
Thank you.
your website and everything?
Sure. You can go to, of course, www.tkk.life. It's just very simple, tkk.life.
Not life.
And that, there's no .com or anything like that.
Okay.
It's just tkk.life. And that takes you right to my website. I have a very powerful virtual channel that you can access through my website. So you can practice with me anywhere on the planet. Or if you're going to travel to outer space, I suppose you could practice with me there too. But so I have a very robust presence on the internet, as well as my brick and mortar here in the Arts District, downtown Las Vegas.
So you have classes, you have
7 days a week.
products, trainings.
Absolutely. We're here 7 days a week,
Fantastic.
morning and evening.
Wow.
We have a lot of holistic products in our store. We don't sell anything online yet. We prefer people to come in and purchase in person. But we have a really nice selection of adaptogens, of books, of manuals, of cacao, of treatments that you can give yourself for self-care.
It's fantastic. And I go to Vegas for different conventions, so definitely would want to look you up. And
I invited Jonathan to stop by when he was here, and he didn't come by. So
okay. Well, Jonathan, come on now. I think he didn't want to sit with the monkey mind, but now you realize it, right?
Whatever. That's the big whatever. Here's the manager for that.
Okay. That's there he is. Okay. All right.
Yeah, okay.
Well, then it's been a pleasure, Mandeep. As Love University students, if you want to comment on today's show, you can reach us at 310-226-8090. Visit us at loveuniversity.love and loveuniversitylove@gmail.com. Thank you, Mandeep. Namaste. Until next time we see each other.
Satnam, dear. Satnam. Thank you.
A pleasure. Well, that was a very fascinating interview with Mandeep, a spiritual yoga teacher. What I like the most about it is that she says meditation and yoga is not just sitting still and trying to control your thoughts. It's basically moving, is breathing, doing some kind of action, being in the moment. So it's actually very, very useful and very practical. You don't have to be there for hours. You can do it for a certain period of time every day and be consistent for it. And it can elevate your mood, reduce stress, help you get connected to the higher nature, which we talk about at Love University a lot, the spiritual component of life, and be more compassionate, be more loving and giving to yourself and others. So I recommend people look into yoga, look into meditation. There are many programs out there, many ways to do it. But the key is to be aware of your inner nature so you can help create a beautiful outer nature. So until next time, this is Dr. Alex Avila. Put away your notebooks, your iPads, your phones. Now, if you want to download our podcast, you can do so on Podbean, Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Love University Podcast. And also you can follow us on Twitter at Love.U Podcast. So until next time, put away your notebooks, your iPads, your phones. And this is Dr. Avila. Class is now dismissed. Love University. Now I want to introduce a very exciting event that we have planned coming up on November 9th, 2022 at 7 p.m. here in Orange County, California at the Curtis Theater in the city of Brea. We're going to be doing Find Your Soulmate at the Dating Masquerade. This is one of our most popular events where we actually teach people how to find compatible partners based on personality type. So everyone takes a test. They put on a mask that we give them based on a personality type. Each mask has a certain color. For example, red is for excitement seekers, white are for security seekers, blue are for meaning seekers, and black are for knowledge seekers. And then people mingle throughout the night, and at the end of the night, the masks come off, and then you might be able to find the ideal person for you once you get to know them at a deeper level. This will be the Find Your Soulmate at the Dating Masquerade. You can find this on Eventbrite in the city of Brea. You can also find it on our website, loveuniversity.love. The admission will be $10, includes a glass of wine. It'll be a great way to meet people, to mingle, and to learn more about finding your soulmate based on love compatibility. As seen in my best-selling book, Love Types, which has helped over 40 million singles find compatible love. So one more thing, get ready to join us at the Dating Masquerade.